Well, this ain't going to be a very long live stream. I kind of hope everybody would come back and watch the replay. I hate doing live streams about this of a lot of people we've lost over the years, especially people that you once looked up to as a kid. Pete Rose, a legend, could have been in Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, but never will. And I don't care what. I got a lot of friends that are Cincinnati Reds fans that just love Pete Rose, and I understand that. That's like me loving Ernie Banks for the Chicago Cubs. But Ernie Banks didn't do a lot of the things that Pete Rose did that was, bad press and not a good thing to do. People come into Major League Baseball, they know its history, they're a fan, or they should know its history, and know that, ironically, what happened in the 1919 World Series with the Cincinnati Reds versus the Chicago White Sox. That year, they called them the Black Sox because there was a lot of shady and dirty crap going on. What it was is Mr. Comiskey and his greed wouldn't pay his players more money. So it only took a couple of entrepreneurs that are into gambling heavily, paid off key players on that White Sox team to throw the World Series so they could win a lot of money because the Reds were the underdog. The Reds ended up winning it, and there was a court trial, and they were all acquitted. Just because they were acquitted doesn't make them not guilty. There's only one that I know of on that 1919 White Sox team that wasn't trying to throw a game nor was bought off, and he asked for a separate trial. And that was Buck Weaver, the third baseman. His proof, he was batting over 300 in the series. You can't be batting over 300 and trying to throw a game. It doesn't work. Anyway, they hired Mr. Comiskey got with the officials of Major League Baseball and hired a judge, and he said it was going to be a lifetime appointment to lay down some of the rules of Major League Baseball. And one of those is if you get caught gambling on baseball, you are banned for life. And so every one of those White Sox, even the one Buck Weaver that was innocent completely, was banned from baseball forever. So Pete Rose was gambling in baseball. He was even gambling on his own team. He got caught and was banned from baseball. Yes, he should be in the Hall of Fame because he was he had the most hits in a career than anybody. Well, rules are rules, and nobody wants to touch that because that would open up a can of worms by letting Pete Rose in the World Hall of Fame, which a lot of those White Sox should have been in the Hall of Fame too. But Pete Rose died today at the age of 83. My heart goes out to all the Reds fans in Cincinnati, Dayton, and the southwestern Ohio area, part of Kentucky, and part of Indiana. He was a part of the Big Red Machine, they called it. Hello.
Hey, Sean, how you doing?
Hi, Gordon. All right. Yeah, Pete Rose. I got the news. Pete Rose passed away. Now I met the man a couple of times. I remember, he was an idol to a lot of boys playing baseball. My idol was Ernie Banks, but I never got to see Ernie Banks play. He was retired before I was old enough to know anything. Which was about 3 to 4 years old is when earliest thing I can remember of my childhood. But he was already retired then, Ernie Banks was.
He made a second career on the WWE. Like he was like their comic relief.
Uh huh. Speaking of wrestling, I was reading Vince Russo's book about this wrestling league he drummed up, and I'm like, did he actually bring this? I think actually did. Brought it to DirecTV. It was going to be on pay per view only or subscription only type channel, and it was going to be 18 and over type wrestling, and it was a women's league like Glow, and he called it Bitch Slap.
That's Vince Russo for you.
I'm sorry.
He could wreck wrestling.
Oh, Vince Russo did. He was really good at it. That's why Jim Cornette can't stand the man. He calls him shit.
Even Eric Bischoff can't stand him either.
Yeah, nobody could stand Vince Russo. He was a flash in the pan. He had two good years in the first 2 years, and then it went to shit. And he started doing all this stupid stuff. But he in his book he wrote about this women's league, and I was like, I could see it working like on an adult channel. It was going to be all women, and it was part the same company that owned TNA was called Sports Entertainment Extreme, and its abbreviation is SEX.
That's what he did. That's what he did.
Yeah, but some of these female wrestlers he came up with, like one was called Toxic Shock. And it's like when you read the backstory on some of the characters he was doing, and I'm like, who's going to be playing these parts if it really happened? I'm thinking. So I drummed up. I looked at all the current wrestlers that could pull this off, and I'm like, there's a couple of them that could fill that part in real life. I mean, because of what they've done in their real life to shit on the industry, but what Vince Russo did is he made it totally unbelievable anymore. That's why in the territory era they made
he basically broke kayfabe.
Not in the degree as some of the actual talent did, like the curtain call when Hall and Nash left the WWE for WCW. That was one of the worst, and the only one that got punished for that was Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Triple H.
But I'm taking the feeling that Vince Russo doesn't respect wrestling in general.
You might want to get closer to the mic or turn your volume up on your mic. It's hard to hear you a little bit.
I'm trying to say, like, Vince Russo didn't respect wrestling at all. It was just a money.
Oh, no, he didn't care. He got lucky, was in the right place at the right time to get hired, and he had no experience when it come to wrestling. The only thing he remembered as a fan was when Jimmy Snuka got hit over the head by the coconuts from Roddy Piper on Piper's Pit. I mean, shit, I remember that, but there's a whole hell of a lot more that I remember than he does.
Vince Russo should have just played a magazine record.
Yeah, here's like the write-up on Toxic Shock. Volatile toxic shock, like a dog in heat, the stuck-up temporal temptress uses the pads of the bitch slap ring to the max. While she turns men off with her moody demands, she claims she can make gay men menstruate. Always craving chocolate, she rides her own cycle as she shows up to the ring once a month to wrestle. And I'm like, she only wrestles once a month on her period? This is what he wrote. And another one was, I'm sorry, go ahead.
What's your 20?
I'm in Connecticut. I'm headed to Vineland, New Jersey, which is south of New Jersey, and then pick up the load and go to Gas City, Indiana.
Did you go by the old WWE headquarters?
No, I'm going the other way around.
They're selling the old building.
Well, yeah, that's not even occupied. They moved across the interstate into a bigger building.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's another one called Homeless Heather. Nice box, commended a young boy to his father as they walked by Homeless Heather's place of residence on the sidewalk just beside the Bitch Slap Arena. The only Bitch Slap wrestler who wrestles for food. Homeless Heather is a she god of the shelter. Not only she compete in the ring, she serves at the she serves as a cleanup crew as she wheels her shopping cart looking for cans during the show. Burning her bra for heat, Homeless Heather uh, works the soup kitchen before dusk. A riot around the ladle, and that's crazy. But Vince Russo came up with this, and he put it in his book. Now, this one I really like. It's a female wrestler with a male manager. Kentucky Love with Papa Woody. Get your raincoats, kids. Kentucky rain is falling. They say things are very different in the Kentucky foothills is an understatement. Kentucky Love, a bluegrass bosom Buddhist Bobbit, is the envy of every farmer's eye or father's eye. No. However, for Kentucky Love, there wasn't be any soiling of oats. With shotgun in hand, Kentucky Love's father, Papa Woody, hold a very special place when it comes to his divine daughter. You see, Kentucky Love is Papa Woody's forbidden fruit. However, she keeps her fondling father in line. Papa Woody is hell bent on bobbing for his daughter's apple. I'm like, this is crazy.
Hey, only Vince Russo.
And then there was a female tag team called Blackbeard and Treasure Chest. And the team was called the Ass Pirates. Ahoy, matey! Like the swashbuckling of the Caribbean.
Hey, if Vince Russo could stick Judy Bagwell on a pole, he could do that too.
Yeah, Blackbeard of the Ass Pirates have buccaneered their way to Bitch Slap. Sword fighting is speciality, and the Ass Pirates promises to walk the plank. Through their revealing denim shorts, the Ass Pirates invite rump wrangling to those seamen who lost them after them, who lust after them. Action heroes to the preteen audience. Blackbeard and Treasure Chest are among the 10 most wanted list in every elementary school in America. No, not for premature cannons to fire, but rather leaving blue balls behind.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, you can say that again. And then there was Birdie Holfer one. She was a PGA legend. But there was a whole bunch more, and I'm like, Jesus. It would work on, in the adult network. I would not. That's not for children's viewing.
Or next time on the Jerry Springer show,
Well, see, that's what Vince Russo wanted to make wrestling. He wanted to make it like the Jerry Springer show. And we're like, no. Me, I like the old territory days, what I grew up watching. World Class, Smoky Mountain, Mid-South.
NWA, AWA. WWF.
Yeah, it was like 1991 when the territories were they're all gone because McMahon just took over all the territories.
McMahon and Ted Turner, because Ted Turner bought WCW.
Well, he didn't buy WC. All the territories were gone when Ted Turner took over WCW. All Ted Turner did was when a lot of the legendary talent left WWE and went to WCW, he capitalized on that. That's when the NWO was formed. But what Vince Russo did, he created the NWO, the idea of the NWO.
No.
Because originally, when Hall and Nash, when Hall and Nash first got to WCW, they were known as the Outsiders. The NWO didn't exist yet. When they hired Vince Russo, he came up with the NWO, and then he lasted for about a year or two. Then he left, and he went to the WWF, and then created DX. He created both of them.
It was Eric Bischoff that created the NWO.
That was Bischoff, the storyline.
Eric Bischoff was actually in charge of WCW.
That was the storyline, but it was Vince Russo who wrote it, and they approved it. Bischoff had to approve it because Vince Russo was a writer. That's all he did. He was just a writer for the WCW until they fired him.
But Bischoff was Russo. Bischoff was running the show for WCW.
He was running the show just before Hall and Nash got there. And when Hall and Nash got there, they were known as the Outsiders. The NWO hadn't existed yet. They brought in Hogan. I mean, it was like 6 to 8 months after, 8 months after they brought in Hall and Nash. What did you
think of Hogan's heel turn?
I can't hear you.
What did you think of Hogan's heel turn?
Wait a minute. I know what it was. I had to turn my headset up. Go ahead. Say that again.
What did you think of Hogan's heel turn?
Oh, I was watching it. I was like, I've been waiting for this to happen. There was rumors of it, and a lot of people wouldn't want to believe it. And I'm like, I know McMahon had thought about turning him heel, but everybody was sick.
Hogan wanted to turn heel, but McMahon said no.
Well, yeah. The reason why is everybody had their fill of Hogan. Hogan had a long run in the WWE. Everybody was just sick of him.
But he wanted to turn heel after WrestleMania 6.
But when he did it and turned into Hollywood Hogan, and then NWO comes around, and he comes out to, I can't remember. It was Jimi Hendrix, but I can't remember the song.
Voodoo Child.
Yeah. Everybody started acting like that. I owned a muscle tee of NWO, which I use it as one of my backgrounds when I'm on my laptop karaokeing. That was when I was like 24 years old. And I also owned a DX shirt, and I don't know what happened to them. I know they were both in a box somewhere in my shit when I went over the road, and I could never find it. I know my son would be digging around looking for it. But I had a DX shirt, Degeneration X in the front, and on the back it said, suck it. But I like the NWO shirt, the black and white.
There would be no Attitude Era without ECW, Paul Heyman, or Paul E. Dangerously at the time. ECW brought in the Attitude.
Well, no, they brought in the Extreme is what it is. They brought in,
But they brought the Attitude too, like the swearing,
Well, the Attitude Era started with Shawn Michaels because that was hold on a second. That was the catchphrase of Vince McMahon when Shawn Michaels come out wearing bicycle shorts and had some gauze tape down his shorts to make it look like he had a big sausage. and he went to the ring that way, and it pissed McMahon off. But then he looked at the ratings of that show when he did it; it skyrocketed, and McMahon had all the talent around him, and said, "That's what we need is attitude." Like Shawn Michaels, that's where the word attitude come from,
But I'm
and
saying
that's how it started.
the mentality was ECW first.
Well, the ECW always had it, but they were a league of their own. Nobody really paid attention to ECW.
Until Vince McMahon did and said, yeah, we need to copy these guys.
But that's where the term attitude comes from. It came from McMahon for what Shawn Michaels did.
But the
I mean,
attitude, but that's the word attitude, but I'm saying the attitude itself came from ECW.
well, that's when it started. They started going to more adult themed shit.
Same with WCW with the NWO. They wanted more adult themed stuff. They wanted to break free from the WWE's childish gimmick.
Well, they were wanting to cater to the 18 to 40-year-olds.
Yeah. They didn't want to do the childish gimmick anymore. Same with Hogan. That's why I think he turned heel. He didn't want to do that superhero gimmick anymore.
Well, he made McMahon in the 80s made first WrestleMania on to WrestleMania 6. He made it like comic books.
Yeah. And Hogan wanted to turn heel after WrestleMania 6. But McMahon wouldn't let him because McMahon says the money is where you're a good guy.
But WCW's ratings skyrocketed because they took advantage of the perfect situation. Yeah. McMahon was going through the steroid fiasco, and his ratings were going down, and they were playing smaller houses then. I mean, it was really sad. It was still known as the WWF when that was going on.
And it was called the new generation, where they had these like no-name guys.
But what brought them back up was the Attitude Era. The Attitude. Well, all of them. It was all of them for the Attitude Era. Stone Cold Steve Austin, Rock, all of them is what brought them back in.
Bret Hart was for the Attitude Era at the time.
Yeah. Cactus Jack and then switched to Mankind really helped. Because they weren't playing big arenas except for WrestleMania. Shows during the week, they were playing these small buildings that only could hold a couple hundred people.
WCW,
WCW
basically had Monday Nitro in the Atlanta Dome, the Georgia Dome, basically every second Monday.
But before the Attitude Era officially started, the WWE was playing small houses like in the old territory days. That's how bad it got.
They lost their popularity. It's like when Kiss took off the makeup.
Really didn't affect them. They were still playing big stadiums. They always played big stadiums.
But to a smaller crowd.
Not much, maybe at first, but it picked back up. Because the Lick It Up album and especially Animalize sold more than all the others.
But that doesn't count for ticket sales.
They filled Tiger Stadium in the Animalize tour because they played Detroit twice. They couldn't use Coldwell Hall for the second night. They had to use Tiger Stadium, and that is a big stadium.
Detroit is Kiss's second home.
But during that tour, it was big, the Animalize tour, and that was
with the WWF at the time when the Hogan era ended, it basically slumped because Hogan was the biggest draw.
Yeah, and he still had the most merch being sold.
But Hogan lost me as a fan when he joined Team Trump.
But he had enough problems of his own personal life issues.
Yeah.
And he screwed Bubba the Love Sponge. It was like, God damn.
That's not Hogan's fault. That's Terry Bollea's fault. Not the character Hulk Hogan. That'd be the actual guy, Terry Bollea.
Well, yeah.
Or
They
did,
had
he legally change his name to Hulk Hogan?
no. He didn't legally change his name. Some wrestlers did.
Then how come his wife, ex-wife, and kids go by the last name Hogan, not Bollea?
That's by choice. They can do that and get away with it,
But
even though they may not legally be their name. They can. You can write down anything you want as your last name or first name at that. But when you're asked for your legal name, you have to give it. Like if you're filling out an application somewhere.
So Brooke Hogan's legal name would be Brooke Bollea,
Yes.
but for entertainment purposes, she goes by Hogan.
Yeah, that is a screwed up family as it is. The only one that has a promising future is his daughter.
Brooke. She's got the stable head on her shoulders.
But you got a lot of them that just, had a brilliant career, was good at what they did, but pissed it away for stupid shit. Like Tammy Cinch. She wasn't an alcoholic. She didn't do drugs when she was in Smoky Mountain. She became too big in the head, and for some reason she just got with the wrong people, and she pissed her life away. Now she's in prison for 17 years for killing somebody.
She got with Chris Candido.
Well, they were high school sweethearts, but she was screwing around with all the wrestlers at a young age because she was in Smoky Mountain at the age of 16 when her and Chris Candido started.
And then when they debuted as the Body Donnas in WWF,
Yeah, but
she would have been 19.
Yeah, her look really helped her, but what really put her on the map was she could do shoots, and she was good at it.
She was good on the mic.
Yeah, that's what a shoot is. They call it a shoot.
Yeah.
She was really good at it. But like someone like at the same time she was in the WWE, there was Sable. Sable had the look only, but she couldn't talk. She couldn't do a shoot. She had no talent at all.
What about Terry? Goldust's wife.
She was all right, but not as good as Tammy Cinch was.
But Terry or Marlena had the looks too, didn't she? Like she could distract the men.
Well, she was a freak. She cheated on Dustin Rhodes with New Jack. Because of what he did, Goldust's wife was screwing around. Terry was screwing around on Goldust with New Jack, just like Tammy Cinch was screwing around with everybody in the locker room.
Did you know Terry was part of the Dangerous Alliance in WCW?
I never really watched WCW.
She was with Paulie Dangerously, Stunning Steve Austin, Rick Rude, Medusa.
That was before Stone Cold went to the WWF. He was Stunning Steve there.
When he was part of the WCW, he was Stunning Steve Austin. He was with Brian Pillman as the Hollywood Blonde.
Yeah, and he had long blonde hair. When he came to the WWE, he shaved his head.
And he went by the Ringmaster. When the $1 Million Man brought him in, he was known as the Ringmaster.
Yeah, but that gimmick didn't last very long. There were a lot of stupid gimmicks that didn't last.
Yeah. So Vince McMahon asked Steve Williams at the time, "What do you want to be?" And he recollected his wife at the time saying, "Drink your tea before it turns stone cold." And he modeled the character after the mob hitman Stone The Iceman.
But what it is there were a lot of egos clashing, and people got too big, too quickly, and it got to their head, and they needed to think more rationally.
Steve Austin was always humble, though, wasn't he?
Yes, but he wasn't going to do stupid gimmicks either.
What about that beard truck?
Because if you do stupid gimmicks, it could destroy your career. Like a lot of good wrestlers had their careers destroyed because of what Vince Russo was wanting to have them do.
What about, even though, like, with that beard truck thing when he sprayed Vince McMahon and stuff like that?
Yeah,
That,
I never saw that, but the one wrestler that should have made it to the main roster in WWE was Sandman. That guy was good. He could control a crowd. He was like the old territory days.
he was known as Hack in WCW.
But he's the one that started that shit when he asked for a chair. Somebody threw a chair in the ring, and then everybody just started throwing their chair in the ring. That was ridiculous.
I thought that was Al Snow.
No, that wasn't Al Snow. It was Sandman. I forgot who he was in a tag match with. I can't remember. I've been trying to find the video again on YouTube. But he asked for he threw.
Taz should have been bigger in WWF.
But he got permanently injured.
But if he didn't get injured, he could have been champion.
Oh, no doubt. Taz, there was Saturn, Batista. Those
Sabu.
three, I'd get mixed up because they looked a bit alike.
What about Sabu? Do you think he should have made it big in WWF? Or
I'm not sure that.
Or was he just a little too out there?
He didn't have a character like his cousin Rikishi had.
Sabu's cousin is not Rikishi.
I thought they were cousins.
No, Sabu's uncle was the original Sheik.
Oh yeah, okay. My mistake.
Not the Iron Sheik, the original Sheik.
Yeah, the original Sheik.
Yeah. That's Sabu's uncle. You're thinking Samu, not Sabu.
Yeah, well, see, I'd get them mixed up. I don't. Some of the mid cards and below, I really didn't pay attention to. And like today, I'm sorry.
Did you ever like Savio Vega?
No, don't know him. Like I said, mid card and below, I didn't pay attention to. And today, the only thing that keeps me interested is the women's division. These men are out there. I mean, it's like all scripted. It's crap. They need to go back to the old days where, yes, all the matches were predetermined who won, but they threw them out there and made them develop their own character. They ad-libbed everything, and nothing was scripted. But that's why the old way was more entertaining, because it was more real.
And when they cut a promo, they weren't given a script, but they were giving a topic, like you and Hulk Hogan, WrestleMania 3. So, like, talk about it.
Yeah, they worked it all out themselves. There was no such thing as a writer back then.
But they were given a topic. Like they were given a topic, like who are they going to face the next night?
But you do know what started the hardcore thing in wrestling, don't you? What started it all?
Japan.
Nope.
FMW.
Nope. There was one wrestling match in Mid-South that started the hardcore thing, and it was known as the Tupelo Concession Stand Brawl.
Was it with the original Sheik?
No. It was called the Tupelo because Jim Cornette and all the other legends said the same thing. It started with the Tupelo Concession Stand Brawl. The only thing is they were not allowed to touch the popcorn machine. but they tore the shit out of that concession stand. It was the Mid South, and he wasn't known as the Honky Tonk Man yet, but what was his name? Wayne Ferris was his real name. It was Wayne Ferris. Tag team with somebody I can't remember, and two other unknown guys, and they brawled in the concession stand for like 10, 15 minutes and destroyed it. They were sliding around and ketchup and mustard. It was pretty bad, but
I would have thought the whole dog collar match between Roddy Piper and Greg Valentine was the hardcore thing, because that busted Roddy Piper open pretty bad.
oh yeah, but it was so that if you type it in the search field in YT and watch it, you'll see a woman get involved. That was the promoter's wife because they started beating on her husband. But that was a part of what they were doing. His wife didn't know it, but his wife was getting involved, and I think it was Wayne Ferris smacked the piss out of her. That was hilarious.
But for hardcore wrestling in general, it would have been FNW in Japan, wouldn't it?
No, it was that incident way back in Mid South what started hardcore. They all agreed, and they point to that because it got really brutal. But what happened was the promoter needed they brought in Wayne Ferris and a few others to do that match because they needed something special to get his numbers back up and his ratings up, and it did. It made the ratings skyrocketed, and his promotion exploded because of that incident. But you can't do the same gimmick twice and expect the same result because a year later they tried it again.
Was Mid South belong to Jerry Jarrett or Jerry Lawler?
Mid South was Jerry Jarrett.
So
and Lawler.
It was Wayne Ferris's partner.
Yeah, there was Mid South was a station in Memphis, and that's Jerry Jarrett and Lawler.
But was it Jerry? Was it the Jeff Jarrett, Jerry's son, that was part of the match?
No.
Was this way before Jeff came into wrestling?
Yes. But it's called the Corny Drive-Thru. He did a call-in session. I got to talk to Jim Cornette, and I asked him, I said, is it doable going back to the old territory days where nothing's scripted, and the way that they did it in the days when I was a kid? He goes, it's a catch-22. It might work, but then it could bomb too. And I asked them one more question. I said, do you think you can control the crowd like you once did? Because nobody can control a crowd like Jim Cornette. And this is the way it was. The people in the ring wanted to kick his ass, and everybody in the audience wanted to kill him. That's why in his career, I'm amazed he made it out of the arenas alive most of the time. Because there was times that they did riot, and they just barely made it out of there with their life intact. They had to throw their bag in the car and jump in the car and just take off because people wanted to kill him.
Even with the wrestling gear on.
Yeah, there were times he said, nobody had time to change. We just ran to the cars and took off and left right away.
Yeah. But Jim Cornette, I actually like him. I actually respect him. He's a good guy for when it comes to knowledge, when it comes to wrestling. He's better than Russo.
Oh, he hates Russo with a passion. You mention Anthony Russo around him, he loses his shit every time.
He actually wants to kill Russo.
Yeah, because what Russo did.
Russo ruined wrestling. But then again, Vince McMahon Jr. kind of ruined wrestling too.
He should have when Shane wanted to buy UFC, That's when he should have turned the reins over to his son, because his son had a good vision of what he wanted to do.
His son wanted to buy WCW.
They had already bought WCW. What it is he wanted to buy UFC, Ultimate Fighting. But now, what's the irony is UFC and TKO ended up buying WWE, where it should have been the other way around. And he should have turned it over to his son to control back in the day when that happened.
But Dana White was in control at the time.
Who?
Dana White,
I don't know.
The original owner of UFC.
Yeah, she was wanting to sell.
No, it's not a she. It's a he.
Oh, whatever. It was out there. Shane was approached to buy the UFC.
Is that when
Vince didn't want to go for it.
Was still there?
I'm sorry?
Is that when Ken Shamrock was still fighting for UFC?
No, I think he was in the WWE when that was going on. But didn't you watch the docu-series of Vince McMahon on Netflix?
No, not yet.
I started watching it as soon as they released it. I only knew about it because Jim Cornette.
And here's the thing: Vince McMahon wanted to buy it out, like to destroy it, because it was making him into a bad word.
Well, Vince did that to himself, and he might as well just go through the motions. He's only going to be around for a few more years, and he's got to answer for that all that mess that's in court right now. Yeah, he's going to pay heavily for that one. Him and John Laurinaitis. I feel sorry for the Laurinaitis family, because that's Animal's brother.
And John Laurinaitis was part of a tag team in WCW called the Radical Duo or something like that. Like
I don't remember it. I just remember his brother Animal in the Legion of Doom.
Yeah. Road Warrior Animal. Yeah. But yeah, it was the dynamic duo. It was John Laurinaitis and Shane Douglas.
But I think you're right. But it was the Road Warrior or the Legion of Doom. That was the template for all future tag teams.
I thought it was
they tried, no. Legion of Doom was out long before Demolition came out. Demolition copied the Legion of Doom, which was a good copy. And then there was the Barbarian and a Warlord, the Powers of Pain.
Yeah. And you had Sting and the Ultimate Warrior, the Blade Runners. They were known as the Dingo Warrior and Blade Runner Rock.
Making good time. Still 3 hours away or a little bit more.
It's nighttime. There's not much traffic on the road.
Yeah, but I'm going to be going through the Bronx.
You going to the Bronx?
I'm going to go through the Bronx.
Oh boy.
To get to New Jersey from where I'm at, I got to go through the Bronx.
You got to go through New York to get to New Jersey.
Well, yeah, the upstate New York. There are 3 cops. Someone's going to jail. If there are 3 state cops like that behind you, someone's definitely going to jail.
So you're going to New York?
The state of New York City, no. I'm going to go through the borough of the Bronx, called the Bronx.
That's part of New York City.
There are 5 boroughs in New York City. The downtown area is known as Manhattan. I won't be going anywhere near there.
The Bronx, you got Brooklyn, you got Harlem.
Harlem is not part of it. It's Queens, Staten Island, Brooklyn, the Bronx, and Manhattan.
I thought Harlem was part of it.
Well, Harlem is in the Bronx, but Harlem's not all that big. It's not a borough. It's inside the borough of the Bronx.
It's like basically a small town inside of a small town.
It's a small section of the borough of the Bronx.
Yeah. So you're going to go where Ace Frehley was born.
Yes, Ace Frehley and Blackie Lawless.
And one of the
They all grew
Ramones
up. They grew up together in the Bronx.
was one of the Ramones from the Bronx too.
I think they were all from the Bronx, but I don't know.
Yeah, the Bronx back in them days.
Matter of fact, hey, good seeing you here, Georgie. I'm almost in Rye and White Plains. I'll be going through the Bronx here in another 45 minutes. She lives in Long Island.
Who, Georgie?
Yep, she lives in Long Island.
It's Joji,
But
right?
but I was in Connecticut when when I was in Connecticut.
Hey, Joji, how you doing, sweetie? Is Joji from the Philippines, though?
Originally, yes.
Because I thought she had a Spanish influence.
No, she's Filipino. But everybody on Long Island probably thinks that she's Puerto Rican.
She kind of does look like a Latino.
Well, they're half Spanish and half Asian. Some Filipinos favor one side or the other. It's hard to find a Filipino that's a perfect mix of both Asian and Spanish.
So would Joji be a Latino?
She doesn't really. She doesn't favor the Asian side of the Filipino. She favors the Spanish side more, in
So
my
technically
opinion.
she's a Latino. Yeah. I always thought the Philippines was like the Mexico of Asia.
It is. Like there's only a few that I found on White Tea to be a perfect mix of both. Blessed Life is one of those. There's a perfect mix of the Spanish and Asian.
I find Blessed Life looks more Japanese than Spanish.
When I first met her, I thought she was part Japanese, yes, because she has a pointed nose.
And she looks like a young Connie Chung.
No, there's a big difference.
I said a young Connie Chung.
And plus, she was Chinese. Connie Chung was.
Connie Chung's Chinese, though, isn't she?
Yeah. You'd be hard pressed.
Yoko is Japanese, right? Yoko Ono?
Yes. I mean, you would be hard pressed to find anybody in Japan with the last name Chung. Chung is a Chinese last name.
Unless it's an immigrant to Japan. Yeah, you're like J-Lo. You're Jenny from the block. Joji says everybody says she looks like J-Lo. Yeah. Now you're in the dark of the highway. No civilization for miles.
Well, there is. I just haven't got to the metropolitan area yet. I will in 11 miles, though.
So in basically 10 minutes.
Fairboot, yeah. Oh, wow, I didn't even realize that. I'm already in the state of New York. I hate going this way.
So are you more, like right now, are you more close to Buffalo?
No. I'm like 500, about 450 miles from Buffalo. Buffalo's way on the other side of New York State by Toronto, Canada, by the Great
And
Lakes.
same with Dunkirk, right?
I don't know where that's at. I thought Dunkirk was in England.
There's a Dunkirk in New York because I follow a railfan channel on YouTube. His channel is called Wide World of Trains. He films in Dunkirk.
There, now the sky is glowing from the city lights.
How's the weather in that area? It's getting colder here.
60 degrees.
We might get some snow tonight.
Yeah, they got a little bit up in the high ranges in the Cascadias already. That's why we have to carry chains now. After the 1st of September, you have to carry your chains or out of socks.
Yep.
And
Winter's
you have to
coming.
carry, and then you have to carry them until April Fool's Day.
Winter's coming. You never know when you're going to be on the snowy path.
I'll probably be in this truck for another 2 months, and then I'll be in my new one. Whether I keep this one, I'm not sure yet. If I'm just going to park it at the house or sell it.
Are you emotionally attached to that truck?
Yes, for the most part. I've had it for 7 years, and I've been
It
taking
better.
good care of it. I didn't know I'd ever have to buy another one.
It could probably go another 7 years then.
It could go on forever as long as you take care of it.
Like, do you need a new truck?
Basically, no, I don't. I would need, in another year, I'd have to get an engine rebuilt, no doubt. But instead of getting an engine rebuilt, they just would rather us get new equipment.
And I bet the new truck is going to be more high tech than this one.
Not by much. And I don't want to get a Peterbilt Ultraloft. But in order for me to have a Pete, I'd have to get the Ultraloft, and I really don't want the Ultraloft. I like the mid roof. I like being unique. I'm one of the only trucks in the fleet that still has a 10 speed for God's sake. When I go through lineup at the yards, they're like, "You got a 10 speed?" Like, yeah. I'm like, I haven't seen one of those in years.
Yeah, you like the older trucks.
Well, I don't trust an automated transmission to keep me from going over the side of the mountain. I would rather have a 10 speed.
Yeah. And that truck seems like it's working pretty good for you.
Josie, he's from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
No, I'm not.
Oh, it's not Edmonton?
Grand Prairie, Alberta, Canada.
Well, you live near Edmonton, though, right?
Yeah, but the city I'm in is Grand Prairie.
The only person I know for Edmonton is Hazel.
Yeah.
She, long ago, she took the bikini competition I was asked to hold by a couple of Filipinas asked me to have one on my birthday, so I went ahead and did it. She took 3rd place. For a middle-aged Filipina, Hazel's an attractive woman.
So is Joji. She's pretty attractive. Yeah, Joji.
Ugh.
But it's not going to stay around because the ground's still too warm. So it's going to like melt when it hits the ground. Oh well. Long drive?
No, I just started a little over an hour ago. I was at the TA near Marion, Connecticut, by Waterbury.
So it goes New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts.
Yes.
Like if you're driving north.
From New York City, yes, that's how it would go. Or if you're coming from Pennsylvania, you would go through upstate New York into Massachusetts or Connecticut. You don't have to cross through one. You go to one or the other, depending on what interstate you want to take.
Right. So Connecticut would be like the snobby part of New York.
Oh, Connecticut is where all the rich people live. You cannot be middle class or below and live in Connecticut and be able to afford to live in Connecticut. Are you kidding? That's why a lot of the rich people live up here in Connecticut. Shit, man, this is where Yale is. All your Ivy League colleges are up here, whether it be Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Hampshire.
New York City's got some Ivy League college too, don't they? NYU?
John Hopkins, I believe, is Ivy League, but I could be wrong.
Or is it NYU?
I think it's John Hopkins.
Is that the medical school?
Yes.
Harvard is in Boston, right?
Harvard is it's way on the outside of Boston. It's near Boston. It's in Oxford, northeastern part of Massachusetts.
Yale is in Connecticut. Yeah.
But you got Dartmouth in New Hampshire. That's an Ivy League school. Yale is in by New Haven. Matter of fact,
What about,
I was a couple miles from
Purdue?
Yale University where I delivered this load from. This
What
load that
about
I just
Purdue?
had, I
What
delivered
about
near
Purdue
Yale.
and what about Purdue and Pittsburgh?
Purdue, no. Purdue is in northern Indiana. Those are the Boilermakers. That's not Ivy League.
Yeah, and McGill is in Montreal. That'd be like their Ivy League. Yeah, Canada's got some Ivy League school too. It looks like looks like you're still on a dark highway, no city lights yet.
You can't tell it because the camera can't pick it up, but the sky is glowing from the city lights.
But I'm not seeing the sparkle on the horizon.
That's why I say my camera's not picking it up.
Yep. You're welcome, Joji. What does Guapa Papas mean?
I'm not exactly sure.
Because Joji says Joji Batsa, the Guapa Papa is a girl.
I think guapa means cute. I think that's what that means. It's Tagalog for cute, I believe.
Yeah, I sometimes go on Joji's live where she's always dancing.
Yeah, I'm there every now and then when she has karaoke.
She likes to dance, doesn't she? Hey, as long as she stays active physically.
Anyway, I'm at the split. I'm going towards Rye and not White Plains.
Yeah. White Plains, New York, eh?
Yes.
And you hate this route, don't you?
I really don't like going through this area because traffic can be a disaster. And I got to stop at the next to the TA in Bordentown, New Jersey, to get a washout at the Blue Beacon.
Yeah. When's your next rest stop, like for food?
When I get hungry, which I probably won't get hungry for a while, because I got something to eat before I started the drive.
And you probably pack some food in the truck for yourself to snack on, eh?
No, only thing I pack is bottled water.
No chips?
Oh no, I won't eat that. I try to eat as healthy as possible.
No beef jerky?
Every now and then I'll buy a Sasquatch as a snack. Jack's Links the Sasquatch. Don't mess with Sasquatch. I like those commercials. I thought it was cool. And then there was the Mountain Dew commercial with the same Sasquatch. Do the do.
We have, we have a Sasquatch in our beer commercial here in Canada for Kokanee beer. Yeah, the Kokanees are like in British Columbia. We use a Sasquatch for the beer commercial.
Well, until one gets hit by a truck, I believe they don't exist. Because everything known to man has been hit by a truck like mine.
But you're not ruling it out either.
Not necessarily.
Hey, we discovered animals that people thought didn't exist years ago, and they exist now. Maybe they're just better at hiding. It is the woods. And isn't there Sasquatch legends in the state of New York too, like where the upstate part where the forests are?
But yeah, in the Adirondack Mountains, yeah. There we go. I-95. That's in a mile and a half.
Love you, Joji.
I just hope there's not a Yankee game going on.
What time is it? The game would have been over by now.
But most of the people ride the subway to get there.
Yeah. Or I don't think there was a game tonight. Oh, by the way,
He's a Yankee fan.
by the way, speaking of baseball, goodbye Oakland A's. Hello, Las Vegas A's.
Not yet. They're going to be playing in Sacramento. They played their last game a couple nights ago in Oakland, yes, because they're going to finish out their season and playing in Sacramento at a AAA stadium. And a lot of people are angry about it.
But they're not the Sacramento A's. They're not the Las Vegas A's.
Yeah, but the Oakland A's, the athletics team has moved from multiple different cities over the years of history of the MLB.
Yeah.
Everybody's had a finger in that old whore, but I wouldn't be heartbroken if I was an Oakland fan because the A's originally started in Philadelphia, then they moved to Kansas City, then they moved to Oakland, and now they're going to be moving to Las Vegas.
I feel bad for the Raiders fan of Oakland. They were like,
The name the name of the Raiders should have stayed in Oakland, just like the Cleveland Browns name stayed in Cleveland until they got a sponsor to bring that team back. They made them change the name to the Ravens when they moved to Baltimore.
same with the NBA when the Seattle Supersonics moved to Oklahoma, to call them the Thunder. They left
Yes.
the name with Seattle. Like Seattle still owns that name, Supersonics, for any
Yeah, but
future
some
NBA.
yeah, but some of these names do not make sense because the team packed up and moved to another city. Like the New Orleans Jazz moved to Utah. There's no Jazz in Salt Lake City, Utah.
And
And
Minnesota Lakers moved to LA.
no, it wasn't the Minnesota. It was the Milwaukee Lakers.
No, it was Minnesota Lakers. Milwaukee is the Bucks.
The Bucks didn't exist. Years ago, it was the Milwaukee Lakers, and they moved to L.A.
I thought it was Minnesota Lakers because
Uh-uh.
Minnesota's known as the land of the thousand lakes.
Yeah, but they were talking about the Great Lakes. It's right off of Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
But they just move around because of BS. Because the Raiders always sold out every game. They sold every seat in that house, and the Coliseum is fairly big. It's gotten old. People want stadiums that are 10 years or younger. In my lifetime, the Texas Rangers have built 2 stadiums.
Yeah, but the only oddball left is Green Bay Packers. Like the fans still love Lambeau Field. They don't want it. They don't want a new stadium. They want Lambeau Field.
Well, it's community owned.
Yeah,
That's why they're always going to be playing at Lambeau.
and the fans love Lambeau, and the teams love Lambeau.
Yeah, that's one team that can never move anywhere because no one person owns the team. It's community owned. That's why all the jobs around Green Bay are worker cooperatives. Nobody owns those either.
What about
That's why
the
they don't
Chicago
have
Bears?
That's why they don't have a bunch of crackheads and homeless people up there because everybody works and everybody's taken care of because worker cooperatives is the future of our
Do you
economy.
think? Do you think the Chicago Bears will ever leave Chicago for a new stadium?
They are. They're moving to Arlington. It's a suburb of Chicago.
It's still part of Chicago.
It's a suburb of Chicago. But they're moving to Arlington.
Like Soldier Field was
Rebuilt. But that's not the issue. The issue is the ground itself. The turf and the grounds and everything is just beat all to hell, and it's extremely old, and they just can't do anything with it.
That's
And,
football.
but
Here's
the only Bears game I've been to was the famous Hound of the Baskervilles game. The fog was so thick nobody could see what's going on the field.
Not even the referees. But yeah. What about Wrigley Stadium? Is that going to go? Like, is that going to be knocked down?
Wrigley Field, no. Wrigley Field is never going to go anywhere. It's an historic landmark, and they've rebuilt it because yes, it's extremely old. That stadium's over 100 years old.
Same with Fenway in Boston.
Yeah, Fenway is just a couple years older than Wrigley Field.
But those stadiums will never go away. because there's a charm to them.
Well, if you
That's
look at Wrigley Field, everybody else copied off of the friendly confines and made their stadium look similar to Wrigley Field. Like the Cardinals, it looks like Wrigley Field on the inside a little bit, but on the outside, it looks like Ebbets Field from New York.
same with the Minnesota Twins stadium. It's got a brick wall in the back, like in where the home plate is.
Yeah, everybody was copying off of Wrigley Field.
Except for the Ivy. You can't do Ivy in every stadium, eh?
Sure, you can, but they're not going to. They're going to leave that to Wrigley Field.
Even Detroit Tigers was trying to copy Wrigley too, weren't they?
Well, at Costco Field, yes. But I missed the old Tiger Stadium. That was a big house.
And that was a home run, easy hitting stadium, wasn't it?
Down the lines it was, but not in dead center. Dead center field was 440 feet. And I remember Cecil Fielder's fat ass. I was at that game. He laid in every bit of that 370 pounds behind that hit. It landed in the upper deck in center field. That was a poke. They measured it. It was like 690 feet. The ball, when he hit it, everybody knew it was gone, but it went so high, it disappeared because it was above the light fixtures. It disappeared, and then it reappeared, and then landed in the upper deck in center field.
Now that's
a hell of a hit.
And it's too bad they had to tear down Tiger Stadium.
And that was old too. That was built in 1920. That was an old stadium.
Yeah. What about Yankee Stadium? Not the new one, but when was the old Yankee Stadium built?
That was built in 1936.
So it's probably the same age as Tiger Stadium.
Yeah, the old Yankee Stadium is part of the parking lot. Now, I've been to Yankee Stadium, not the new one. The old one I have been to.
And how did it feel? Did you feel like you were in the temple of baseball?
Not really. Mostly when I go to Wrigley Field. Even as a kid. Now, being an unbiased opinion, the field with the best amenities, food, and everything, I'd give it to Milwaukee and Miller Park.
Yeah, and they're going to build a new stadium for the Kansas City Royals.
That surprises me. Because Hoffman Field's nice. They rebuilt it a couple of times.
I guess they want to add new seats.
That stadium's got plenty of seating. What it is you can't sit in the outfield, is what it is. Because there's the interstate and a waterfall that they built. There's no room to put seats out that way. Because guys would hit a home run, they would land on Interstate 70.
And the big score clock, which is also a video board.
And it's right next to Arrowhead, where the Chiefs play.
And they want to build a new stadium for the Chiefs.
That's a big stadium, and still a nice stadium.
I think they want to put a dome over it. Do you think out of football stadiums, do you think the Superdome will never go away?
The Superdome is not all that old. Or wait a minute, the Superdome.
That's
wait
in
a
New
minute.
Orleans.
I was thinking Toronto. That's Sky Dome.
Or the Rogers Center. No.
The Superdome, that probably won't go anywhere. That won't go anywhere. The Superdome, there's too much history behind that, and New Orleans does not have any room to build. It would be way out the city limits where they could build a stadium, because They have a minor league baseball team called Baby Cakes.
But could New Orleans knock down the Superdome and build a different stadium on the footprint?
They could, but it would be a lot more expensive to do it. And they don't have a whole hell of a lot of money to do it. New Orleans don't.
Right. But do you think the Oakland Coliseum will be knocked down?
Yes, because there has been cracks in the concrete. What it was is when they built the stadium, it was revolutionary when they originally built it in the early 70s. What they didn't realize is the concrete that they were using tends to crack, and it's pretty bad. That's why they shy away from using concrete to build stadiums anymore.
When are they going to knock down the Astrodome?
I have no idea. That hasn't been in use in over 20 years.
It's not even used for concerts anymore.
But that was the first dome stadium.
The Astrodome?
And it was the first multi-purpose stadium also, because the Oilers played there.
Yeah. It was the Oilers, the Astros, yeah. And you had like a lot of wrestling events, concerts.
Well, I don't remember the history, but the Astros were originally called the Colt 45s.
After the beer.
No, after the pistol, not the beer.
I thought it was an alcoholic beverage they were named after.
No. There is an alcoholic beverage called Colt 45, yeah. But they're named after the pistol, Colt 45. Sam Colt.
Yeah, but they renamed themselves the Astros when Houston became a space hub.
I do know this. The original Washington Senators today are known as the Minnesota Twins. Then they brought the Senators back in the 60s after a few years. Then they moved to Texas and became the Rangers. And now we have the Washington Nationals. And I'm like, why didn't they just bring the Senators' name back? They saw it as a curse. That's why they didn't do it.
Nationals used to be the Expos of Montreal.
No, the Nationals are the Expos. But
Yeah,
the Astros were the Colt 45s.
It said the Nationals were the Expos of Montreal.
Yeah, yeah. They're talking about bringing that team back.
The Montreal Expos?
Yeah, I don't see how that would work.
Well, Canada needs another team. We need a rival for the Blue Jays.
Well, I do know this. I hope they bring back the Nords, because that was one of the greatest rivalries in all sports. The Nords versus the Habs. And I would watch every game.
Battle of Quebec.
Those two teams hated each other with a passion. The Good Friday game they call Black Friday, that was hilarious, man. There was more fighting than there was game time.
The only team I supported out of Quebec was the Nordiques.
Yeah, the year they moved to Colorado, they won the freaking Stanley Cup. There's a fan holding a sign saying, "Thanks, Quebec. Do you want the Nuggets?" That was cold.
Do you think Arizona will ever get the Coyotes back?
The name may stay, but I didn't know if they were moving out or not. Where are they moving to?
They already moved to Utah.
Oh, they moved to Salt Lake.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder what's going to happen with the Grizz, because the East Coast Hockey League team, the Utah Grizz, play there. They're a minor league hockey team.
No, they don't play at the Delta Center.
And I'm wondering if they're going to rename the Coyotes.
It's right now they're called the Utah Hockey Club. They play at the Delta Center where the Jazz play.
So they are going to change the name.
Yeah, they're having a vote online on for the fans to change the name, and the top running name going right now is the Yeti.
That's what I heard too, but I got one better.
Yeah,
The Utes. And they could have feathers and they could look like a rival team of the Blackhawks.
the Utes already exist.
I
That's
know for the university, but yeah, I know, but they could still use the name because it's happened before.
But with copyright, I think the University of Utah owns the copyright of that name.
Major league teams have share the same name as a university. Just like my kid's school is the Tri Village Patriots, just like New England Patriots.
Oh yeah, you got the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, they should have changed that name. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, there's no Cardinals in Arizona.
And that team's moved twice. They originally started in Chicago.
Wasn't the Arizona Cardinals known as the Kansas City Cardinals?
No, never.
Or
St. Louis.
What were they before they were the Arizona Cardinals?
St. Louis.
Louis? Oh, right.
And then the Rams moved to St. Louis. And then they moved back to LA.
Yeah. But St. Louis and Kansas City are basically in the same
state,
area.
But they're on the opposite sides of the state. They're both in Missouri, but on opposite sides.
But shouldn't Kansas have a team?
I'm sorry?
Shouldn't Kansas City in the state of Kansas have a team?
No. It's not big enough.
What about the Kansas City Scouts of the NHL? Was that Kansas City, Missouri?
Yes.
So if you had the Scouts back in Missouri, you have a rivalry between the Blues and the Scouts.
Possibly. But they're going to go after other cities before they even consider Kansas City for an NHL team.
They're thinking of putting a hockey team in Houston.
Well, there is one already. There's been the Arrows for years.
I'm talking NHL.
Oh, yeah.
Like, do you think Houston could support an NHL team?
Possibly. You never know.
Would it be too much of a rival? Would they encroach on Dallas Stars' territory?
They could, yes. But here's the deal, like in Ohio, they made the wrong choice by picking Columbus to have the Blue Jackets. However, they got lucky and struck gold in Columbus because there was a East Coast Hockey League minor league team called the Columbus Chill that was lucky to fill the state fairgrounds building, which only sat like 6,000 people. They were only getting 1,000 or 2,000 people a game for that. The minor league team that drew the most should have been awarded the NHL team, which was Cincinnati, because they were filling the gardens up every night. They had a game, and they could fit 12,000 people there.
Do you think Cleveland? Do you think Cleveland could support an NHL team?
They tried that. The Barons and the Lumberjacks. They tried. Cleveland is a broke city anyway, but Cincinnati could because of the Cyclones. They should have made the Cincinnati Cyclones an NHL team.
Now they want to try to add a third NHL team to Atlanta, Georgia. Didn't they learn with the other two failures, the Flames and the Thrashers?
Yes. Thrashers are now known as the Jets, and the Flames are now known as Calgary. And what's interesting is But the year that they moved to Calgary, they won the Stanley Cup.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did. They won it, in, I believe, in 87, 86 or 87. I can't remember.
They won it in 80. They won it in 89.
I need to relook at that.
They moved to Calgary in 84.
And I thought they won the Stanley Cup the year they moved, just like the
Nope.
Avalanche did.
Nope. They won it in 89 when Lanny McDonald's last game.
Yes.
It was against the Montreal Canadiens in Montreal. And that was Lanny McDonald's last game in the NHL.
But there was never any interest in hockey for some reason in Atlanta.
Then why does Bettman want to push a team in Atlanta still?
I have no idea. They were good for
Atlanta's
my AAA minors when they had the Knights.
But Atlanta's
But no.
not a hockey town. Atlanta's a basketball town.
Well, the southeastern part of the United States was not. They didn't favor hockey at all. It was mostly football. That the sport that is favored in the American South. It was always football, never hockey.
And basketball.
Not much. Well, not much basketball either. They only got the Atlanta Hawks for years until they ended up having expansions to the Heat
But
and all
not
that.
not even just a professional. I'm talking like universities, like college, like college basketball is huge in the South.
Yeah, but not like football. Football was always king and still is down there. That's why most of your NFL players come out of the SEC.
But for indoor sports, basketball is the top game.
You could say that, yeah.
Hockey will never. Like, I don't even understand why Florida even got hockey teams.
Well, Florida is a southern state, but you got to figure a lot of people that live up here, when they retire, they move to Florida. So they're
Even
taking that influence with them.
Even Canadians go to Florida for the winter months.
Yeah, and the Florida Panthers won their first Stanley Cup, so it's going to get even more popular. The Lightning won a few cups in the past 10 years. That made them pretty popular. But those were fair weather plans, and that was been proven. A lot of people hardly even know the team. They only went to the games because they're in the Stanley Cup, and people became avid fans because of that.
Yeah, Nashville, I could see having a hockey team because Tennessee does get snow.
They
in the
do.
winter.
They have the Panthers.
No, the Predators.
Part of the Predators, that's right.
But I could see them having a hockey team because Tennessee does get snow in the winter.
And very little, mostly in the gorge area, which is the eastern part in the mountains.
But it still touches.
Ow! Damn. By the way, welcome to the Bronx.
I could never understand why the deserts get hockey teams, though, like Arizona. I could see Utah because Utah gets snow in the mountains.
Uh-huh. Well, they always wanted to stay out of Vegas, but money always prevails. They wanted to stay out of it because it's all nothing but gambling there in that city.
But hockey should be where snow touches.
Well, if they want to have what do they call that? The first one was at Wrigley Field. The Winter Classic, they won't be able to have one down there, no.
They call them stadium series just because LA's hosted a couple of them.
Yeah, Wrigley Field started that Winter Classic where they were playing outdoors, and that was cool. I tried to go to that game. Blackhawks and Red Wings.
But here's the thing. The first outdoor game for the NHL was in Edmonton. It was Edmonton versus Montreal. It was called the Heritage Classic.
Well, they originally played hockey outdoors back in the day, 150 years ago.
I'm saying for the NHL, like modern time, it was the Heritage
Yeah.
Classic between
I
Montreal.
can't. I don't remember the name of the pond, but I remember reading a story about that game. The Toronto Maroons. I can't remember who they were playing,
The Montreal Maroons versus the Toronto Arenas.
but the winner of the team, they asked Lord Stanley, "What are we going to give him?" And his drunk ass took a last drink out of his goblet, and he threw it down on the table. So give him that, and that's the top of the Stanley Cup.
But the Stanley Cup was presented by Lord Stanley.
Well, yeah, it was the top proportion of it was the goblet he was drinking out of. When they asked him, "What are we going to give the championship team?" He threw it on the table and said, "Give him that."
It's not a goblet; it's a bowl.
Well, they called it a goblet in the book.
You probably read the American version.
I can't remember if Georgie is still here. I believe she's a Ranger fan, or no, I think she's a Devils fan.
No, she's an Islanders fan. She's in Long Island.
No, no, because I thought that too. She said no. I think she's a Devils fan. Georgie, you still in here?
You're a Blackhawks fan, aren't you?
Yes. I am a geographical oddity. Very rarely do I run into somebody whose all their favorite teams reside in the same city. I ran across this guy that on the side of his truck he had the Cincinnati Wishbone logo for Cincinnati Reds, the Buffalo Sabres logo, and the Oakland Raiders logo. And I'm like, how the fuck do you do that one?
Is that a check stop or?
No, it's always like this going through the Bronx.
Construction?
Well, construction and traffic. Mostly traffic.
No, I was talking about the truck with the flashing lights.
Well, yeah, they got construction here, but it's always traffic is always horrible coming through the Bronx here.
Yeah, but it's not like it used to be in the 70s, isn't it?
Not everybody owned cars back then. But here in New York City, all they're doing is stacking people on top of people, and nobody wants to move. That's why when you go out to Nevada, you can go hundreds and hundreds of miles and not see nothing. But the people here think that we're overpopulated. I said, that's because you don't ever get out of New York City. Have you been to Nevada? No. Well, if you went there, you'd get an education.
Probably never even left the state.
Most people in New York don't.
They probably go to Connecticut for vacation.
No, they would go up to Kennebunkport in Maine, or they'd go to the Poconos in Pennsylvania. If you're rich, you'd go to Kennebunkport. If you're working class or below, you'd go to the Poconos.
Is that where the raceway? Is that where the racetrack is too?
By the Poconos, yes.
That's an odd shaped racetrack, isn't it? It's like a perfect triangle.
I'm not into NASCAR, so I'm out of my league there.
Indy also races there too. But yeah, I thought the rich always go to a certain island off the state or something like that.
Thank God. I get to the George Washington Bridge, go across it, and I'll be in New Jersey.
I thought the rich go to the Hamptons.
No, not in New York. They go to Kennebunkport. Would you like to go yachting, darling?
The Hamptons is Connecticut, isn't it?
I'm not sure. Jesus. See why they need to fix this damn road.
It's New York for you. So I think
Well, that
I've been,
person's gonna get himself killed.
yeah, got a death wish.
Dee 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 dee. Dee 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 dee. I'm doing that from City Slickers. It's better when you got acoustics. You know, me and a friend of mine were at this museum, and they had a makeshift cave they built for the Neanderthal men, and there was good acoustics in there. And we started doing that, and some other people started joining in with us because it was from the movie City Slickers. He was scared, and so he just started doing the Godfather theme.
Was that Billy Crystal?
It had Billy Crystal in it, yes. And he'd always
Was Billy
aggravate him
Crystal
by
doing it?
asking his brother. No, well, the guy that played as Billy Crystal's brother is the one that started it, because Billy Crystal's friend in the movie would always ask his brother, who had Fred Tangelini killed, and Billy Crystal would be like, "Oh God damn," because he knew the whole spiel, but he hated hearing it.
Yeah.
The Rosado brothers. I know that, but who ordered it? I know I didn't.
The only way I knew City Slickers is Jack Palance was the cowboy, and Billy Crystal was the city slicker from Chicago.
And I believe, yeah, it was in the second movie, In Search of Curly's Gold, and they were in that cave, and they were separated, and his brother got scared, so he started doing the Godfather thing. We're going dee 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 dee. But then the rest of them started jumping in, and then Jack Palance, playing as Curly, said, "Would you guys shut up?"
Yeah, Jack Palance was a good actor, wasn't he?
Oh yeah. Like the first one, they're out west, and his friend sits on that cactus, and he thought he got bit by a rattlesnake. He said, "Don't tell my kids I died taking a shit."
Yeah. So Chris Christopherson died yesterday.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
No, wait. Yeah, he died yesterday. And the day before, the guy that played John Black on Days of Our Lives died.
Don't know that one.
But yeah, Chris Christopherson died yesterday. Pete Rose died today. And the most famous NBA player died today, too. Not Michael Jordan, but the Mutombo or something like that.
Kenny Mutombo?
Yeah. He died.
Oh yeah, he was big name back in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, people say he was entertaining when he was on the court.
Well, a lot of them were back then. They were more animated. There was a lot of big names back then.
Like Mutombo did that finger wag, like no, right? No.
Yeah, the one that I found the most strangest player is Lenny Divat. He was from Israel, but he was a tall person from Israel. Lenny Divat. I will never forget that. He was good.
Yeah. Who was that? Who was that player from that had like a Russian name? He was tall, white at a.
I don't know. Ovechkin has really gotten a bad rap because of the bullshit over here in America. It's like, look, We got a lot of Russians over here. Y'all want to think like the way they did in the Cold War again. It's all bullshit.
But I'm thinking about the guy that like had a Russian name, but he's not from Russia. I think he's like Romanian or somewhere in the Middle East, Middle Europe. I mean, Eastern Europe. He played with the Sacramento Kings.
You know what's weird? Every time I've come through here in the past year, this is the first time you see me going south, not north. But every time I've come through here, I've done a live stream going through the Bronx and the George Washington and New Jersey. Now that I'm in New Jersey, I think
over the Brooklyn Bridge.
I'm sorry.
Have you ever driven over the Brooklyn Bridge?
Once. I won't do it again because it's not really made for us. Every time I'm on the New Jersey Turnpike, I think of the TV show The Sopranos and their theme music. Woke up this morning and got myself a gun.
Did you ever like that show, The Sopranos?
Oh yeah, I got all 6 seasons on my external hard drive. They were supposed to, and it was rumored that they were going to make a movie, but John Gandolfini died. It could still work without him, but the only way they're going to be able to pull this off is when the TV show blacked out like it did. He got assassinated by one of those people that they were focusing on in the restaurant, and he dies. That's the only way it's going to be able to work. And I would write the story like this. They don't have to bring him in because he died at that last episode, and his daughter takes over because the son just is not strong. Not like the daughter. The daughter could be ruthless. The son, Tony, was weak. When I first heard him talk in the show, he sounded just like the son on King of the Hill.
Bobby Hill?
Yeah, same voice, everything. It's like, that ain't going to work.
James Gandolfini, he was pretty good. Like, how did he get it? Like, that wasn't his real speech, was like the way he spoke on the show. That he didn't have that strong speech impediment in real life.
Joji, you didn't answer the question. You're a New Jersey Devil fan, if I remember correctly, because I asked you that. I thought you were a Ranger fan. Most people on Long Island are not necessarily Islanders fans. They're a mix. Oh, and by the way, over there to my left, you can't quite see it. That's Manhattan over there.
On this episode of Law and Order, Sean drives a truck through New York.
I've done it once during the pandemic. When they originally started the lockdowns and they made Central Park into a makeshift hospital because it's the only room they had. I had a picture of it, and they made us turn all of our cameras off, and they escorted us in, the New York City police. But we had the entire road to ourselves because there was no traffic because of the lockdowns.
Why did they make you turn the cameras off?
Because they didn't want nobody filming anything except for the news, because they were controlling the gravity of the situation. And a lot of people will say, "Oh, you're full of shit." I'm like, dumbass, I'm right here. I managed to get one picture off and then drop my phone on the floor before the police came up to me. I said, on the news, they're telling you they got 3 trailers that they're putting dead bodies in. When I got there and got unloaded, because I was delivering medical materials, what happened is they made me deadhead to the yard in Princeton and grab that load, high val load, from the other driver because he chicken shitted out. He didn't want to go in there. And they said, "You're the only one crazy enough to do this." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll do it." I got a whopping $80 to go from Princeton, Pennsylvania to Manhattan and deliver it. And I had something to prove. I was going to go in there, do my job, and get out, and nothing was going to happen. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
And I delivered it, and on the news, you were told there was 3 trailers being loaded of dead bodies. When I got there was 13. See, they didn't want that story to get out because that would have caused mass panic. Because that's how bad it got. And we got idiots on YT that are calling it a scandemic. That's why I don't get along with them. And I said, dude, you didn't see what I seen, and you didn't lose a close friend like Murad. If it was such a scam, can you bring my friend Murad back? But he didn't like that. That's why me and him don't talk. He's stuck. He's an Australian, stuck listening to his media, thinking that they won't lie to him, and he believes the bullshit that they tell him.
Yeah. When you actually lived it.
Over there to my right, there's MetLife Stadium where the Giants and Jets play.
No games tonight.
This area, no, this area used to be called the Meadowlands. They don't quite call it that anymore.
So now you're in Jersey.
Yeah, I've been in Jersey.
Oh,
Actually, that is the quickest I ever made it through the Bronx and going over the GW Bridge. What the hell? Oh, okay, I see what this is. I know Georgie knows where I'm at, if she's still in here.
I thought Jersey had a toll thing where you had to pay a toll to get to Jersey.
There is. When I went over the bridge, it's all automated now. They got rid of the booths. They don't need them anymore.
So how much is the toll? Basically, like $1 or something?
Yeah, I wish. For me, it was $150 just for that bridge.
Just to enter Jersey.
Well, no, it doesn't cost us anything to go south. But if I was headed north going into Connecticut, that's $150 just going over the bridge alone. That's why I made it through there so quickly. But if you're going northbound, it's going to take you a couple of hours.
Yeah. I like watching you drive. Like, I'm basically behind the wheel with you.
That's why one day I'm going to buy one of those cameras like they have on the Google car. It has a 360 view, and everybody can put on an Oculus. And it's just like as if you were sitting in the cab with me. You can look around and get the whole picture, like if you were sitting here with me.
Sometimes I'm quiet because I want to let you concentrate during traffic like this. Now you're back on the highway.
Oh, I've been on the highway. Just going through the Bronx, it slows down, and sometimes it's stop and go. Traffic wasn't all that bad going through, believe it or not. It usually is.
Because it's like even at night.
Man, I'm coming into Newark now.
Is that where the Devils play in New York?
The New Jersey Devils. I'm not sure where they play. Georgie knows. I know she knows because she's a fan and she's been to a game. I haven't been to that stadium before for a hockey game. Although I've seen the Devils play the Kings out in LA once.
They used to play in the Meadowlands.
Then it had to have been in this area.
Oh, the Devils play East Rutherford.
East Rutherford, that's right next to Newark.
Yeah. Looks like the weather's okay there, eh? Like not raining or anything.
66 degrees.
But I'm saying there's nothing coming from the sky, like rain or snow or whatever.
Nope. There's a couple of organ donors going too fast. But I'm going in the direction of when they filmed the opening sequence to The Sopranos. It starts when from the ticket booth. I haven't reached that point yet.
Have you been like? Do you know where the house is? Where the Tony Soprano, like the filming location of the house?
Not the house, no. But I know where a lot of the locations. I've been to one of them. I've been to the Bada Bing. It's called Satin Dolls, and that was by accident. I was there because there's a Cummins engine place next door that works on tractor trailers. They had to do some work on my truck, and I didn't realize it when they towed us there. I think what my power steering reservoir got cracked, and I lost my power steering, and they were fixing it. And that morning, when daylight came out, we got out of the truck and was stretching and everything. And Tommy, that I was teaming with at the time, because he was wanting to get a new truck, so he teamed with me for a few weeks. And he goes, "Sean, come over here." He goes, "That looks similar. That looks familiar to you." I'm like, "That's the Bing." He goes, "Yep, that's the Bing." He goes, "What are the odds of that ever going to happen?" So we went over there and took some pictures. And we went in. The girls are ugly as hell there, but they will not let you upstairs where the office was from the show. But it looks just like it did in the TV show. It's actually called Satin Dolls.
Yeah.
It's on New Jersey Highway 17. And there's a Cummins engine place next door, and that's where we were.
What about that Italian restaurant that they always met outside at when they had like the tablecloth on the tables outside and they were eating like
Yeah, a lot of that is in Newark. There were some places in Ashbury Park. That's where the boardwalk and everything was filmed.
what about Jersey Shore? Is that the boardwalk too?
Yeah, that's Ashbury Park.
Hey, that's where Bam Bam Bigelow's from.
I thought he was from Atlantic City.
Well, he was billed from Asbury Park, New Jersey.
This bridge here was in the opening sequence, and the tow booth's right over there. That's where it started when you come up from the Hudson River, and you'd come up out of it from the tow booths out this exit over here, and you'd get on on 95 heading south here.
And this theme song would start playing.
Yep. I did that once. I had my stereo cranked up all the way, playing the Sopranos theme music. I went through the tow booth and I was smoking a cigar, and I about died, man. That cigar about killed me. I was acting like Tony. If you know how to do it and want to do it, Gordon, go ahead and play the Sopranos theme music for me. If you know how to do it. It would add to it. I'm on the pike. I'm right where they filmed all that stuff.
Just use your imagination.
I woke up this morning, I got myself a gun.
But it wasn't during the nighttime, it was during the daytime, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I rarely go south. I'm most of the time, all the other live streams I did coming through this area, going through the Bronx, I was going north.
Are you going to pick up something or drop off something?
Both. But this time I'm deadheading to go pick up a load in Vineland. It's in southern New Jersey.
Deadhead, that's also a railroad term, isn't it? When you're,
And they use it in airlines. That means you're not flying the plane; you're just riding along.
but I thought deadhead too was also a railroad term for going like
For
just
some, for,
just the
yeah,
locomotive.
for some engineers that are not working, they need to relocate, which is they use the word deadhead.
Yeah,
They use it in airlines. A lot of pilots will jump on a flight so they can get in their plane somewhere else location, and then they get on a plane, they fly back to their point of origin or somewhere else.
yeah.
Well, here's Newark. There's nothing new about it. Ah,
Is that where Chris Christie's from?
yes. Joji, you could have met me at the plaza if I could have found parking. I would have bought you something to eat. We could have met. I've only met Darren in person. I have the most opportunity to meet people in person, but getting people to, like, you got to help me out here because I just can't drive this truck just anywhere.
You should come up to Grand Prairie, Alberta.
I'm long overdue. I usually would get a load out of Salina, California, and take it up to Calgary. I was doing that on a regular basis. I
Would
was
you ever
delivering.
would you ever drive
Deliver.
as far north as Edmonton or Grand Prairie?
No, Calgary is all we did in Alberta. It was the Walmart DC on the north side of Calgary we would deliver to.
Yeah. Is it kind of hard converting the speed limit from miles to kilometers?
No, because I sort of know the metric system. Plus, it's already on my truck.
Yeah.
But that's how I was able to go to a Calgary Flames game. I seen them play the Oilers.
Did you like the Saddle Dome? Like, did you like the arena?
Yeah, yeah, I liked it. The reason why I liked it is because it was in the 84, not 84, the 88 Olympics. It was in Calgary, right? In 88?
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing, Canada didn't medal in that games either. Neither the 76 games in Montreal.
See, and next time I'm up there, I want to go to a Calgary Hitmen game because I want to get a jersey.
You like Bret Hart, don't you?
He doesn't own the team anymore. He sold his share. He still owns part of it? I thought he sold.
He owns part of it.
Because I know his son was not interested in wrestling. He was a hockey player. And I was looking forward to his son playing in the NHL because he's really good. Because I know he was a star in the juniors. Because, I mean, even Brett was good at hockey.
But Bret had to follow his family into wrestling.
Well, they own Stampede until they've sold out to Vince.
Would the Von Erichs have been the Hearts of Texas? Because they owned the
Yes,
WCCW?
that was Continental. That was Continental, yeah.
You had Fritz Von Erich. Fritz Von Erich owned World Class Championship Wrestling, didn't he?
I believe so. But it was Continental and World Class in Texas. That's where Terry Funk came from, was Amarillo.
Same with Dory Funk.
Well, they were brothers.
And Dory Funk Sr., the father.
But, well, yeah, it was Dory that they called Hoss.
Yeah. But there's two Dorys in wrestling, Dory Funk and Dory Guerrero.
But Terry Funk and Mick Foley are the toughest bastards in wrestling. I don't care what anybody says. Nobody could do and take the punishment and still walk away like they did. Those two
Yeah,
damn near killed each other.
but Terry's dead and Mick's still alive. But then again, Terry was older than Mick, so
Yeah, Terry passed away last year, I believe.
yeah. And Stan Hansen, I hear, was a badass too.
But those two, you know,
Like the tough wrestlers, the toughest wrestlers were back then. You had Stan Hansen, the Funks, Harley Race.
the only one that didn't respect Mick Foley was the Nature Boy Ric Flair. He called him a stunt man. I'm like, yeah, but Cactus Jack was crazy, but he was good at what he did, and he knew how to put butts in the seats.
Same with
That was
Mankind.
the whole point. That was the whole point, is to put butts in the seats, and he was able to do that.
Yeah. But yeah, here's the thing. Mick Foley, he still draws a crowd.
Yeah, but he can't wrestle anymore. They're too old now.
But I'm saying, like, when he enters into like a building, everybody focuses their attention on him.
Yeah. Well, your legends don't have to wrestle anymore. They just make appearances and they can draw a crowd.
I mean, like, even if it's not just an appearance, like if you're just going shopping at the mall and someone spots you, like, holy shit, that's Mick Foley.
But in reality, if I would be really close to Mick Foley, and here's why: me and him are a lot alike. In real life, me and him are a lot alike. We have the same likes, the same heroes. It's just,
And I hear Mick
he
Foley,
got
and
into
I hear Mick
wrestling and
Foley,
I didn't.
and I hear Mick Foley as a human being is pretty humble.
Yes, he's nice. He's one of the nicest guys in the locker room.
Fuck, he's Santa Claus. He's got a room full of Christmas stuff in his house.
But I like it when Ron Simmons did a shoot on Mick Foley. He was, he's lovely people, man. He's a great person. But you knew going in, he wasn't afraid of shit. Jump off a building, run through a firewall, tax, get smashed through glass. He wasn't afraid of nothing.
Jump off the Hell in the Cell.
Yeah, that was in Pittsburgh. That match stole the thunder of everybody. When he fell off, the crowd went nuts. And then when they took him out on a gurney, they made it halfway down. He gets off the gurney and goes back to the ring, and the crowd even went more crazy.
And Vince told him backstage, not again.
Yeah, but he told him, "I really appreciate what you've done for the company, but do not do that again." But what's interesting is when the main event was going on, Mick Foley comes running out of the back room with a chair in his hand, and he involves himself in that match with Stone Cold. I can't remember who he was fighting.
The Rock?
I can't remember, but Stone Cold started kicking his ass. But he interfered in that match too. It was crazy. But the crowd went nuts when he came back out to the ring.
I bet the crowd at that time thought he was already at the hospital.
No, like I said, the Terry Funk Mick Foley match I saw live in Indianapolis was a lot worse than what you saw in the Hell in the Cell. It wasn't televised, but Terry Funk and Mick Foley damn near killed each other in that match.
So, hey, I've seen even videos of that, of Terry Funk and Mick Foley in FMW, and Japan during a barbed wire match.
Oh well, they've done crazy matches. That's how he got half his ear blown off. But
No, Mick Foley got his ear blown off because Vader put him in the ropes in WCW. The ropes of WCW were tight.
that's
cables.
right. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that because I thought it was the C4 that blew his ear off because it did blow up by his head.
No,
Because I thought it was the C4.
it was Vader throwing him to the ropes.
And he was acting like he was hanging by the ropes, being hung.
He actually did hang because the WCW ropes were tighter than the WWF ropes.
Yeah, well, what it is he wanted to do that, Mick Foley, but in the process, it ripped his ear off.
Yeah, because it was already cauliflowered. That's what happened. That's why Killer Kowalski got the name Killer Kowalski, because he was wrestling someone and they had a cauliflower ear, and he did a knee drop on the ear and tore the ear off.
Yeah, see, it was only the WWF that you still used the old rope made of actual rope. Everybody else used cables, and that was one of the complaints of Jim Cornette. He was always trying to get the WWE to change, go to cables. They last longer. You get more spring off of them because a lot of guys were getting injured because they made a switch to the ropes in Ohio Valley Wrestling when Cornette was in charge of that. That was the developmental of the WWE. That's where Al Snow came out of. A lot of guys, would go to the rope.
With the cable ropes, you got a good snap for the high flyers, like for spring.
It was better, and they didn't wear out like the ropes did. The ropes that the WWE used, they made them switch because that was John Laurinaitis' idea. And when he did that, that's how Batista got seriously injured. His bicep separated from his arm and messed his leg up because the rope snapped and he was on the top rope, and it was bad.
But I always liked the WWF ropes better, though. Like they look like legit ropes.
Yeah, but they had them coated, and they didn't last long. They always had to have spare ropes and everything, but the cables always lasted a lot longer.
And plus, with the ropes, you had to retighten them every commercial break. Or whenever.
The cables, you didn't have to do that because Jim Cornette talked about that on his channel called the Cornette Drive-Through.
Yeah. But some of the big, like some wrestlers did like the ropes too, like the real ropes, like because the texture, you could grip it better. Like the big guys like the real ropes, didn't they? Like Hulk Hogan and stuff.
I'm glancing at the chat. I don't know if they're still in here. I'm headed to Vineland, New Jersey. It's in southern New Jersey. I'm on the Jersey Turnpike right now.
Cool.
What the Sam hell? There we go.
Did Stampede use real ropes?
Nope. They all use cables. Like I said, Jim Cornette said that, and even in the territory days, all the territories used the cables. Now,
Except
some of
for
them
AWA.
did back in the, but some of them did back in the day still use the ropes until they invented the cables. But a lot of people went to the cables, and it was so much better, and guys were not getting injured from the ropes. It was
But
the WWF that never changed.
Vern Gagne's AWA used real ropes.
Well, yeah, but they were gone. They were one of the first territories to be bought out because Vern Gagne lost Hulk Hogan because of stupidity.
And Vince McMahon also bought out Stu Hart's Stampede Wrestling.
Yes. but they used cables.
Stampede never used cable. Stampede used ropes.
According to Jim Cornette, which he's good at the history of this, he said all the territories used cables. Not originally, but they eventually all in the early to mid '80s, they all switched to cables because they learned that from Mid South and Smoky Mountain because the cables were so much better. They lasted longer.
Is that why WCW used cable?
Yep.
TNA uses cable, don't they?
I believe so. But basically, he said it was WWF, WWE that never changed. They always used the old ropes. And that's why they snap, they break too easy. You always got to tighten them. It's a pain in the ass. And it's not cost effective. He said the ring that he said he only owned one ring. When Cornette was in charge of Smoky Mountain, he said they only had one ring. And that ring was old. He said a lot of legendary matches happened on this ring, in this ring, and they used cables. He goes, our ring lasts, has lasted damn near forever, while you guys constantly keep, have 5 or 6 rings, but you always have multiple sets of ropes because they don't last. He goes, the only thing that we change in the ring is the canvas. Because, yes, the canvas gets full of sweat and blood and a bunch of crap, you can imagine.
And the only thing is sometimes they'll change the rope color by putting colorful tape over the rope.
In the WWE, they did.
Same with Smoky. I think Smoky Mountain
did too. With the cables, they coated it with a garden hose-like material.
But the color...
No. Like I said, they used the coating on the cable was like what they would use on a garden hose to soften so it don't rip your skin when you lean against it. And then they painted them, whatever color rope that they want to make the ropes look like.
I thought WCW used tape, like electrical tape, to make the ropes black.
Maybe on the ends by the turnbuckle, but other than that, it was like a rubbery substance that coated the cable to make it look like a rope, but it wouldn't rip your skin when you leaned against it. The ropes you could rip your skin, or it can give you a rope rash just by bouncing off of it.
Yeah, WWF, WWE is still old-fashioned that way, aren't they?
Yes. But a lot of the guys that wrestled in the WWE and then started wrestling in rings with the cables, they liked the cables so much better.
It's safer, right?
Yes. And you get more spring off of them.
Well, the high flyers, yes, but what about the big guys like Vader?
A lot of times when Vader did that, they would either have to change the rope or tighten it back up. Because sometimes those big guys were too heavy. But if it was a cable, wouldn't have made a damn bit of difference. Them cables could have held Andre the Giant or Yokozuna on them, and they still wouldn't loosen.
But I'm talking.
Oh, and by the way, you can keep your balance better on them too.
Then how did the Undertaker do it? Like with the rope walk?
He had to train a lot because Undertaker originally, Mean Mark, was used to the cables. He hated the ropes too, but he just trained himself to work with the ropes.
But he started that move when he was Mark Calloway, wasn't he? Like,
yes,
the territory days.
Yeah, and the first time he did it, why he kept practicing it, because the first time he walked the rope, he slipped and fell, and the rope went right between his legs. He fucked up. And thank God it wasn't televised because he makes that comment in an interview. He goes, "I'm glad it wasn't on TV because that was bad."
Why did the Undertaker do that? Like walk the rope like that, and
Something he came up with.
he had to have good balance to do that, eh? Even on cable.
He said it was easier on the cable than it was the ropes. The ropes would move around. The cables really didn't.
Didn't the WWE try using cable?
Nope. Because Vince didn't want to change it.
I thought they'd tried once. Or were they using the cable wherever the local rings were using? Like when they went to Japan, they had to use the Japanese ring, didn't they?
Yes. Now the Japanese, they use some use cables, but mostly use cables now. And some used to use ropes up until like 20 years ago, but now they all went to cable.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the Japanese wrestlers are those high flyer types, and they like the spring action. They get extra spring action off the cable.
Same with the luchas in Mexico.
But if I was in charge of WWE, I would be bringing. I would focus more on the women's division because it's the women's division that's been keeping the WWE afloat. Because the men do not have it, not like what they used to years ago. The women do. The women have character and charisma, like the old days. That's what I like about the women's division. I would bring more of the women over from Stardom and New Japan. And there's this one in particular that's in Stardom. I don't know if she's still there, but she's dressed up like a Nordic goddess. She's not Japanese, but she reminds me of China. I'm surprised the WWE hadn't picked up on this woman. She's got the look. She really doesn't
Maybe
do
she doesn't have the mic skills.
She does, but she don't because they speak Japanese over there, not English. Just like Asuka has an issue of doing shoots. Asuka was really good at doing shoots, but she don't do them here because she does not have a good grasp of the English language. But she's been learning on her own how to speak English.
All she could say for right now is, "Who's ready for Asuka?"
Oh no, she knows a little more than that, but she's not very fluent in English, and she's slow. But I got to give her credit. It's not easy for some Japanese people to learn English, and vice versa. It's Japanese is hard to learn.
But most people don't watch her because of her mic skills. They watch her because she could kick ass. Like the Great Muta didn't speak English, and yet he was very successful in North America.
But he didn't do very many shoots.
He had a manager do the talking for him.
But the Muto is a legend, yes. Matter of fact, Asuka she idolized the Great Muta. That's why she does the Green Mist also.
Even Jushin Thunder Liger had success in North America.
But my hunch is this: when she comes back after the first of the year because she had that knee surgery, I think she's going to change her gimmick again.
You think she's going to turn heel?
She can turn babyface or heel. Doesn't matter. People are still going to like her. I thought she was going to turn heel by going back to Kana, but they still called her Asuka. But it didn't matter. Everybody still loves Asuka.
Yeah.
Even Kairi Sane, her tag team partner, in an interview said that, I'm up there when it comes to popularity, but there's everybody loves Asuka. She goes, there's no getting ahead of her.
And Kairi Sane could speak English pretty good, can't she?
Yes. Um, she said like at the autograph signings, whenever they do autograph signings, like they did in Japan. Asuka was there when they had the WWE over there about a month ago. Asuka was there. She was walking around, but she couldn't. She still can't wrestle yet, but she was there signing autograph. She said there's always a longer line for Asuka than there is for anybody else.
Because Asuka draws money.
She's good at what she does. She was popular in New Japan.
She was popular in Stardom too.
What did her that way? It's a match I will not watch. I watched it once, and I'm like, I'll never watch that again. It was too much to take. And I felt sorry for the male wrestler because she asked him to do that, to be real stiff. He knocked her. He knocked her ass out. I mean, he was being really rough, and it's almost like watching a woman get raped. And I'm like, I can't watch this. But she did that on purpose. That's why
Who is she against?
I forgot the male wrestler's name, but it was over in Japan when this took place. You can get on YouTube, you can see the video there. But
Because they do take.
I want to see her tagging up with Rhea Ripley and go.
Yeah, but in Japan they do a lot of intergender wrestling.
Now, if I were to get involved, I'd like to do something like with Kikatoro. It's comedy, where he does the speech and he goes to suplex the girl, but the girl suplexes him. Now, I'd do something like that because it's funny.
But in Japan, don't they do a lot of intergender matches, like
Yeah,
man versus woman?
yeah, I just said that. Japan made that popular. Intergender matches.
Yeah, they even have an intergender title.
That's why I'd like to see Rhea Ripley and Asuka be a tag team against two men, and I'd like to see how that would go down.
Yeah,
Because in my opinion, those are the top two names in the women's division. I don't care what anybody says.
what about Nia Jax?
She's pretty limited. But when it comes to knowing what to do, knowing how to sell, and know how to wrestle, and actually take a bump, I hand it to Rhea Ripley and Asuka. The rest of them can't take a nasty bump like those two can. The only one that could come close would be Natalia.
What about Bailey?
Not really. Because Ripley and Asuka are the only ones to come from the top rope onto the concrete floor and land on people.
Charlotte did it. Charlotte Flair did it too.
Very softly. She had to do it, but she admitted she did not like doing it. She's not the risk taker because neither was her father to take a risk, to take a large bump like that.
Right.
But Flair didn't have to take bumps like that. He had character and he had charisma that got him through. That's why you look at the era of the 80s and part of the 90s when I watched mostly. They didn't have to really wrestle like they do today. They didn't have to do all that high flying shit because they had the charisma and the character that got them through it. Sure, they were fighting but they didn't take nowhere near the dangerous bumps they do today.
Even Hogan didn't. Hogan wasn't like. But when Hogan was in Japan, he was a little bit more limber, more high flying than when he was in North America with WWF. I think the WWF made him too stiff.
No,
Because
you've
in
never
Japan,
seen Hogan climb the ropes.
But in Japan, he was more athletic. Like Hogan could drop kick in Japan, but he never drop kick in WWF.
What got Hogan over is he could control a crowd. He knew how to work a crowd,
Yeah, he didn't need to.
and he had the look.
He didn't need to display athleticism. He just had the look and the voice.
And he knew how to control a crowd. He had the look, and he could control a crowd. That's what got you over.
Yeah.
Two ways: you either got the crowd to boo the shit out of you and want to kill you, like Jim Cornette, or you got the crowd to love you.
But in Japan, it's different. You have to show athleticism to win over the crowd. Is that right? Like in Japan, you have to be athletic to win over the crowd because
Jim Cornette did this in his recent podcast. You'll never guess who the most popular North American wrestler was in Japan.
Andre the Giant.
It was no. I knew you were going to say Andre. It's not Andre because that was my answer too. Because Brian answered Andre. He said, "Nope, it wasn't Andre. Andre was a big draw, yes, but not like this wrestler." And you'll never guess who it was. Because at first I'm like, "Really?" And then he explained why.
Hogan?
Nope.
Warrior?
Most of the time, this wrestler was a heel over here in America, but over in Japan, he was a babyface, which was weird. He could play
Flair?
both very well. Nope. He sold more merch. He was the most popular wrestler. He was loved by all the Japanese people, and he always drew a big house.
Where did he predominantly wrestle in North America?
He was in the WWE or WWF. Both actually.
And he was a heel?
He was mostly a heel here in America, yes. But over there, he was a babyface.
Like, was he 80s or 90s?
Both.
Bret Hart?
Nope.
Was he a big guy or a small guy?
If you were to see him in person, he's a fairly big guy. Although on TV, he doesn't quite look like the big guy you would normally know. But when I tell you the answer, you're going to be like, no way. Because I thought the same thing. But Cornette explained it.
Give me a
because
hint.
because he managed him. He always he was Cornette, one of Cornette's idols. And so he asked him, "You do anything to Cornette?" And he goes, "No. Why don't you come over and be my manager over there?" He goes, "But I'm a major heel here, and the crowd wants to kill me." He goes, "They don't know who you are over there yet." So that's what Cornette played the babyface manager for the first time, and he kind of liked it. He goes, "I've never had a crowd cheer for me before."
Give me a hint.
He was from the Double Cross Ranch.
Blonde hair, black hair, no hair?
When he would go over to Japan, I believe he dyed his hair blonde. I can't remember. But he did dye his hair blonde once. The Double Cross Ranch doesn't give it away? Come on.
You're talking Stone Cold Steve Austin?
Nope. It's one of the most unlikely big star names, legendary names you wouldn't think that would be big over in Japan. And he was the biggest draw. He was the most loved, and he was the most favored American wrestler ever.
Slaughter?
Nope.
Give me another hint.
We talked about him earlier when I was going through the Bronx.
Steve Austin?
No, you already said that. No, it's not Steve Austin. Like I said, you would never think that once I give you the answer, you would never. You'd be like, seriously? Yeah, he was. He was big in Japan. I got to turn my camera off just a moment.
Rikishi?
No,
Was he Samoan?
nope.
Native? I don't know.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
It was Terry Funk. See?
Really?
Yep. You thinking the same thing I thought it was when I heard it. Hang on one second.
Terry Funk's a small guy, size-wise.
You would think that, but actually he stood like 6'4". He was a big guy.
But he was kind of wiry, like thin. He wasn't muscular.
There we go. I had to make sure I don't pass up my blue beacon, the streaking beacon. I got to get washed out. Terrible Terry Funk. I'll never forget him.
And he could cut a promo.
Oh yeah, but even in the territory days, you know, at his home territory in Texas, Amarillo, he was a baby face. But when he would come to Mid South or Continental or Smoky Mountain, he was a heel.
Even with the WWF, too. Like, he served with the WWF.
And always as a heel until he became Chainsaw Charlie. And then everybody started loving him because he was extreme, just like, everybody didn't know that he was. Yeah, him and Mick Foley would damn near killed each other in the ring and right in front of me.
And they tag teamed together, too. They went up against the New Age Outlaws. And
they were best of friends. Him and Terry Funk, and Terry Funk's last match in the WWE was against his best friend Mick Foley. That's the way he wanted it.
And he always the only way I saw Terry Funk is always with that black and red striped pants with the Funk U University on a.
But him and Haas Funk used to be a tag team, and they'd always, when they defeated the person, they'd always put a noose around their neck.
But I thought Terry Funk did the branding, like he had a branding iron.
They did that too in the territories, but Vince said, "You're not doing that here." They did the branding in the territories.
That's a little too extreme here.
You could pull, in today's technology, you could pull something like that off and it not be painful or real, but you could sell it and make it look like it's real. If you had dry ice inside the brand and make the brand glow red on the end, it wouldn't hurt at all, but it would make it look like it's actually burning you, and people would buy it.
But it'd be more like a stamp, like a rubber stamp, eh?
Yes.
Yeah, and didn't any of the Funks ever do bull rope matches?
Oh yeah. because Haas Funk used to carry the noose around his neck, and when they beat the opponent, they would always put the noose around their neck and tie him to the turnbuckle. That's how the Repo Man got his idea. He tied the guy's legs together and then tied him to the top rope.
You know who the Repo Man was, don't you?
Yeah, he was one half of the Demolition. He was Slash.
He was Smash.
Or Smash.
Yeah, but in WCW, he went by his real name, Barry Darsow.
But the Demolition almost didn't exist with Axe because he was almost retired when he started doing that. And so he had to keep working out because he played that part of Axe until he was in his 70s.
Wasn't the original Smash one of the Moondogs?
No. And that's why they brought in Crush from Hawaii, and he was the third Demolition member. He was there to replace Axe, but it really wasn't working.
I mean, like in the earlier version of Demolition, I thought it was like one of the Moondogs that was Smash, but his voice gave it away, so they had to give it to someone else.
But some of these gimmicks that Vince Russo came up with was the shits, is what Jim Cornette would say. He hated it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've been going long enough, and I'm almost out of time of my 20-hour monthly limit on my live streaming. I'm going to get off here. Thanks for joining me, Gordon. I appreciate it, man. It's been a good conversation.
10-4.
See you later, guys. Thanks for coming. Bye-bye.